Ocean Pines is a vibrant residential community nestled on Maryland's eastern shore. With over 9 miles of waterfront property, amenities like an 18-hole championship golf course and a public yacht club, and a rich history dating back to 1968. Of course, if you live here, you probably know most of that. And if you don't, it's almost all apparent from your first visit. Each week on the Pines Cast, we work to bring out the ocean pines that might be less apparent. We celebrate the region, the amenities, and, most of all, the people who make and keep Ocean Pines a special place to live. Welcome to the Pines Cast, your source of news and insights about ocean pines and the official podcast of the Ocean Pines Association. This week we are speaking with the owner of My Backyard in Ocean Pines, Maureen Kennedy. She talks about the last 7 years running the show and all the things she's learned about birds, and also how people can get into birds and birding. It's something I've recently taken up, and there's no better way to spend a morning in your backyard, that's for sure. Remember, I take comments all the time at my email address, which is bytonyrusso@gmail.com. That is BYTONY. russo@gmail.com. Reach out, let me know what you think. But now, let's talk to Maureen. So you started My Backyard, but before we get to that, let's get you to Ocean Pines. Can you tell me, when did you move to Ocean Pines and why?
We bought our house in Ocean Pines probably 30-some years ago, knowing we would retire here because we just like the area. But we were in Montgomery County, and we decided that we were tired of the rat race, and we loved the way it is over here on the Eastern Shore. So we decided to come and start all over.
That is awesome. So you came in I guess my math is in the mid-90s was when you decided to buy in Ocean Pines?
Mm-hmm.
What was it like then? What was the attraction to Ocean Pines as opposed to, I don't know, a condo in Ocean City or something like that?
We grew up going to Ocean City, so we were familiar enough with the area, and we just liked the community, and it was affordable, and it was something we could do as a second home. So it just worked out.
And what were your summers like in those early days? Like, I've got to be honest, I was just at the shopping center where a Bagel and is, and since the last time I was there, they put a store in the parking lot. So lots have changed.
Lots have changed, yes.
So what were the big differences from when you moved there? Like, how did you see Ocean Pines change over the years?
Oh, wow. It's just grown up. It feels like everybody wants to move here because of the pace and you just feel safe here. It's just very comfortable.
And how long before you retired there did you start working again?
I did other jobs before I opened my store, just to kind of I worked at Furnace Town for a little while as a gardener, and so I like the outdoors. I like to be out there. So, and I also helped my son with his business, who had it across the bridge. Then I got tired of sitting behind a desk, so I decided to do something I had talked about for a long time.
Can I derail this really quickly, even though I promised I wasn't going to ask you any questions you were totally unprepared for? What was it like being a gardener at Furnace Town? That sounds so exciting. I'm a huge fan of Furnace Town. So
it was one of the most enjoyable jobs I ever had. You got to meet a lot of interesting people. I loved having the classes when they brought all the kids in to teach them things that they never thought about, showing them how plants and herbs helped with healing and how they had to garden and save food for the winter because they didn't have a grocery store. And you'd be surprised how many kids really don't understand what it was like back then. So it was very fulfilling for me.
And is that a job that you just applied for, or was it something that you were volunteering for? And I didn't know that there was a gardener on duty at Furnace Town, although it makes perfect sense that there was.
Well, I don't know if there is. I haven't been there for several years now, but that was myself and there was another gardener. So we kind of took turns. And it was a part-time job that I applied for. We just kind of shared the bounty, if you will. We kind of took care of everything.
And that because they have a working subsistence garden there.
Yes, they do.
And so you're growing beans and lettuce and
Yes,
things
and
that.
tomatoes, and we even grew gourds that we dried and made birdhouses out of, and it was just kind of a fun working place. And you could go over to the blacksmith if you needed a hook or something. He'd go make you one or fabricate something for you, or you could go over to the broom maker and they'd gift you a new broom. So it was kind of a fun little village.
That's fantastic. It really is. Like I said, it's an underappreciated part of the area in general. When did you first get into birding? Like what was that about?
Well, I didn't necessarily get into birding. I just like being outdoors, and I knew I wanted to own my own store. And I talked about a store for probably 30 years, but raising children and trying to
Mm.
put food on the table, you get busy with your life. And so once I retired, I decided to do it. But it wasn't so much that I'm an expert at birding. I just enjoy the backyard and the birds there. And I learned as I went.
That's so I mentioned on the last episode, which was 2 weeks ago now, but only a couple hours ago as we speak, that I have just started to go over the edge into the backyard birding for probably the same reasons as everybody else. I spend my evenings sitting in the backyard and there are birds there. And we know we have a small pond. And, then we got a feeder, then we got another feeder, then we got binoculars, and then we got, and so that's really kind of how it went. How do people find their way to you, for, how common a story is that? Is that how it tends to go? And why, I mean, and why not focus on gardening, I guess, instead of birding, for example?
Well, I don't know. It just morphed into it. Honestly, I don't really know why it ended up totally. Well, it's not totally about birds. It is about gifts as well. But gardening, that requires a lot more space, a lot more different products. So I just
Yeah.
kind of had to find a niche, if you will. And if you drive around Ocean Pines, almost every yard you look at, it has a bird bath or a bird feeder or something. So I knew that I think would go well.
And how much did you have to learn to do this? I would imagine it's so. I just found out that there are like multiple competing. I'm a professional editor in my day job, and I'm part of a professional association. Yeah, and I just met two people who are the editors of two competing birding magazines. So it's a bigger thing than I think a lot of people think.
I think COVID helped a lot
Ah.
because people tend to stay at home more. So they wanted something else to do. So that really kind of helped boost my business. It hurt a lot of businesses, but I stayed open the whole time through COVID because I was considered a pet store because they feed wild birds.
Mm.
So I was able to stay open, but people needed something to do while they were stuck in the house, and they turned to birding, which I thought was it was a nice opportunity for me, for sure.
And talk to me about like pre-COVID versus post-COVID birding. Um, do you have like regular customers now who come in and have to reload on seed? Is that the kind of thing you do? Tell me like
Oh,
some of the
yes.
things that are most popular, I guess, in your shop.
Okay, well, seed is definitely one of the biggest draws to my store.
Right.
I've been in business for 7 years now, and so I have developed quite a following. And I have things that I give for people like I have a bird club. So if you buy so many bags of seed, you get one free. It's my way of saying thank you for coming back and shopping with me. I sell a very good product of bird seed, and people have found that they like my seed better than a lot of other places. So, but then I also listen to my customers because they said, well, we do live at the beach, so that's kind of like your backyard. So could you bring in some coastal stuff? So I brought in some coastal things to show people as well. So I listen to my customers and I try to do things for them that they would be interested in as long as it stays within my genre
Mm.
or close to, that is.
And as you were getting ready to put this together, like what were some of the basics where like I wouldn't know how to go about starting a backyard store, especially a bird focused backyard store. So this isn't one of those things where you call up, backyard birding are us and they bring you a whole store and you just unpack it.
That's true. I had to do a lot of research. I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants when I first did this because I had had retail experience. I definitely have bookkeeping experience, but I needed to learn more about what I wanted to do. So I did a lot of research, and I spent a lot of time on the computer at the beginning.
Mm. And
And
what were some of the really interesting, like shocking things that, you're like, oh, I never even thought of that.
as far as
As
the
far
bird.
as anything, what did you learn that you didn't know that you were going to learn starting
Oh
out?
gosh, I've learned so much about all the different birds. I've learned that the gold finch, they lay their eggs later on in the season because they feed nothing but seed to their babies, where other birds feed bugs and that sort. So they evolved to have their eggs or lay their eggs later in the season so that they would have seed to feed their young, which I thought was very interesting. The goldcrest, the male, also loses all his yellow plumage in the fall, so he looks like his female counterpart. So he doesn't stand out as much in the wintertime. I thought that was kind of interesting. But I've learned about bats and what they do and how they help us here in the pines. There's just so many. And if a customer asked me a question and I didn't know the answer, I looked it up. And then from there, I had it in my head, so I knew it to answer another customer.
Oh, so and again, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but like, do you have bat boxes or whatever? Bat boxes? Is that what?
I do. I have bat boxes. I have owl boxes. Screech owls are big around here. There's a lot of screech owls. There's also
I'm sorry, I have to stop you. I didn't know there was such a thing as owl boxes. How do owl boxes work? I thought owls were like too tough to need a box.
No, owls usually will find a home within, like, where a woodpecker has bored into a tree. But because of the fact that I guess people are looking to bring them to their yard, they have a box that specifically fits their needs, and they will eventually move into it and raise their young there.
That is super cool. I guess I'll be out shopping for my new owl box. I don't know that we have them. I mean, we must. I only live about 30 miles away, and so something like that comes to your attention through a catalog. Did you know that there were owl boxes before you started this business? That's the kind of thing that I feel like would surprise.
Yeah, that was one of the things that wasn't on my radar. I was really looking for bird feeders and bird baths and things that for your regular backyard birds. But then, it just like everything else, somebody asked about it, and so I looked into it and found what I needed and brought it into the store.
And as far as bat boxes, I expect they're particularly popular because of the mosquito population in Ocean Pine.
Well, that helps. That helps a lot. Bats are they're actually very communal animals, and people are afraid of them because they think that they're going to get in their hair or something. But that really, to me, is an old wives' tale that I think parents told their kids to get them in at night. Bats eat an incredible amount of insects.
Right. Yeah. No. And they're better for the backyard that way. I can always tell them because they look like drunk birds.
Yes, they do.
That's
but
how
they're interesting.
As far as the bird watching aspect of it, I know that you said you don't do the walks and things yourself, but what kind of introduction to birding can people get at your shop?
Well, when they first come in, if they haven't had any experience with it, we just kind of start small with them. I give them, ask them what they're looking to do, and then we find the right bird feeder for them. I fit them with the right kind of seed to go along with that bird feeder, and then we just grow from there. If they need a shepherd's hook to hang it on, or how they mount it to a tree, or I just educate them as they go.
Hey there, listeners. Are you in the Ocean Pines area and looking for a pharmacy that goes above and beyond? Look no further than Tidal Health Home Scripts. Open 6 days a week, our knowledgeable pharmacists are ready to fill your prescriptions in just minutes. Plus, we offer free home delivery in the Ocean Pines area and have a super convenient drive-through window. Need over-the-counter items? We've got a large selection. And with our monthly sales, you'll find everything you need at great prices. Conveniently located at the North Gate of Ocean Pines, Tidal Health Home Scripts is open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. To fill a prescription or arrange for a free home delivery, give us a call at 410-543-4769. That's 410-543-4769. Remember, that's Tidal Health Home Scripts, your trusted pharmacy partner. And I know that maybe you didn't personally sell a ton of these, but was this the Christmas where everybody got a video bird feeder, or is that my imagination?
No, I actually, last Christmas was not this past one, but the one before that was the big one. That's when they introduced them. I did not carry them then, but I certainly do now.
It's weird only because all of a sudden on social media, every third post is a blue jay looking into the camera in the backyard.
But they're actually quite interesting because I don't get to see my birds in my backyard as often as I'd like to because I'm at work. So this gives me the opportunity to see what is coming to my yard. And my phone, or the app, has shown me that I've had 52 different varieties of birds that came into my yard in Ocean Pines.
That's fantastic. And actually, can you describe the product, I guess, maybe in a little bit more detail? I think everybody knows what they are, but can you talk about the
Sure. Basically, it's a bird feeder. And we sell ours as a package that comes with a pole so you can mount it. But it's a bird feeder that just has a camera in it. So the camera, you have an app, and the camera will take shots of pictures of the different birds that come in and little videos. You kind of set it up the way you want it to. You have to have a good Wi-Fi for it, but all in all, it's very fascinating to see. Even when you get the big squirrel in there, and you don't want to see the squirrel in your feeder, but at least you know he's there eating the stuff. So they're not hard to put together. I'm not a very techie person, so I had to have people help me set it up. So that's why I set mine up probably months before I put one on the shelf at the store, because I wanted to be able to answer people's questions.
If I can compliment you on the poll, because my wife got one for Christmas this year. This is why I thought this was the Christmas year. And it didn't come with a pole, and it needs a pole whether you mount it or not. If you're not mounting it with nails or a screw, then you need that pole for extra support. They send it with a little strap, but that's not sufficient.
No, and that's what we discovered because I had several friends who had gotten different bird feeders, and the same basic principle, different companies, but none of them came with the poles, so they had to do a lot of research to figure out how to mount it. And putting it on a tree is just not advantageous for anybody because it gets the squirrels there very easily. It's just not a good idea. But so we have a gentleman who makes our metal for us. He makes our shepherd's hooks and stuff for us as well. So we got him to fabricate a pole that will fit just about any of the bird feeders that are out there.
That's absolutely fantastic, and I can't tell you, how it's one of the differences between buying something online and buying something in the store, where the person in the store is like, I've already seen this in real life, and this is what you're really going to need to use, as opposed to getting 12 different packages from Amazon for every screw you didn't know you needed to have in your house if you're going to make a thing work.
Yes, and the nice part about it, when you buy local, you're dealing with one person usually, or you're dealing with a small company that are willing to go out of their way to make sure that you're happy because they want you to be able to come back and enjoy what you're doing. So it's kind of nice to have local stores like mine. And there's a lot of them around here. I think small stores are what makes a community, to be honest.
Looking forward now, because this will come out in midsummer. If someone listens to this and they're inspired to start, what are birds, what are the summer birds as opposed to the fall birds and winter birds? What birds migrate away and are worth seeing before the summer's over and you have to wait another year?
Well, a lot of the birds actually stay, surprisingly. They've gotten to the point now, I think the weather has mixed them up a little bit, so they don't know when to leave because the weather isn't that bad. But you do have birds that are going to go away. Put me on the spot here. The cardinals, they stay. The finches, a lot of them stay around. And my bird feeders are always busy all winter long. And I feed. That's another thing I want to talk about too, is the feeding part.
That's what I was about to ask. So please assume that I asked and go right ahead.
Oh, righty. I find that I read just recently through, I think it was Audubon, I'm not positive which, but it was one of the bigger companies, that say that only 25% of what the birds eat comes from your feeder. The other 75%, they hunt wild. So people are afraid to feed in the summer because they think birds won't know how to fend for themselves. But that's not the case at all. And I enjoy feeding year round because you go out back in the summertime and you just watch the birds come and go. And there's a pecking order to them. And certain birds won't feed it on the feeders until the other bird is left. And it's just a fascinating thing to watch. And it's a shame that you don't get to see that year round if you don't feed in the summer.
Right. Or I was going to say the opposite. It's important to feed in the winter, but it's not absolutely critical because they do get their food other places. I know that I was teasing my mother because I was, when you get into something, you want to make everybody else into it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my grandmother was, she would be like, oh, I can't stay. I have to go home and feed the birds because it's February. And, she felt like she was counted on. And it makes people nervous. They're like, I don't want the responsibility of having to make sure that all the birds don't die because I didn't put out my cup full of seed in February. So that's not something to be afraid of.
No, they can. There are so many people that feed the birds year round that they're not going to go without food. If you were only going to feed, if you can't afford to feed year round and you just want to feed just a one time or a certain season, then winter is the best time for you to do that because this food is more scarce. So it does help them a little bit more. But feeding year round doesn't stop them from migrating. It doesn't stop them from finding their own sources of food either.
And you had you had mentioned squirrels who aren't the bane of my existence. I don't mind. I don't mind feeding the squirrels as long as they're around. But that is an issue for people, right?
It is, especially in Ocean Pines. It feels like we've got tons of squirrels. I personally feed my squirrels. I don't have a problem with them. I think they're cute. But I have it set up. You got to put a good baffle on your pole so that they can't get up to your bird seed. And then you feed them in a different area in your yard. It's really, they're not going to go away. Squirrels are going to always be here. So you might as well learn to live in harmony. So you got to figure out a way and a good baffle on a pole. And it really helps a lot to keep them out of your bird seed.
Especially when there's other options for the squirrels. Like if you're the only game in town, then then they're going to do those creative things that always seem to make it onto YouTube. But if yours is one of 70 bird feeders in the area, then they'll go to the easy target first, one would expect.
Well, yes, but they are territorial. So they do have their own territories that they set up so that they don't like other squirrels coming into their territory. So they will fight. Sometimes they'll fight to the death. They're very possessive of their area. So that's why people that trap them and move them someplace else, they're causing them far more harm than they're doing to you.
Oh, that I knew about. I didn't realize that people trapped squirrels. That seems like trying to throw all the sand back in the ocean, trapping a squirrel.
Exactly. What I try to explain to them that even if they were to be successful and remove the squirrels, other squirrels are going to know that territory is now open and they will move in. You are never going to get rid of it. You're right. It's like the sand. You're just not going to get rid of it. So you might as well just feed them and enjoy them because they're kind of cute and they do some great acrobatic things for you. So
if you hang the feeder far enough away, it makes the entertainment you get as they hang and try to eat upside down worth the cost of it. What does feed cost? Feed is not that expensive. When I was a kid and not buying bird food, I thought that bird food was the most expensive thing in the world, the way that people complained about the squirrels, and it's not.
Well,
it's an extra $7 a year to feed the squirrel.
Well, bird food has gotten quite expensive lately. It just seems like since probably a couple years ago, it's gotten really bad because a lot of seed is imported. So it does get expensive.
I'll still feed the squirrels.
Me too.
Are there any other pest tips or bird tips that you feel like people should know, whether they are regular bird watchers or interested in watching the birds?
Absolutely. I wanted to touch on real quick hummingbirds because it has been the vein of my existence for years now to try to teach people the proper way to feed a hummingbird. So I have a recipe that I have on my front desk that I hand out to everyone that buys a feeder that is most natural for them. People think that they should have more sugar than not, but it only hurts their kidneys, so you really don't want to do that. It's 4 parts water to 1 part sugar, no red dyes, and you rate the white cane sugar, not anything organic or brown sugars or powdered sugars. It's just white cane sugar that we all grew up on. The other thing is that you got to change the water or the nectar that you put out there about every 2 days, sometimes every 3 days, sometimes every day, depending upon the heat. Because I think of a hummingbird feeder as like a petri dish. It's got that warm sugar water in it, and as soon as they stick their bacteria tongues in there, it starts growing bacteria. And so that can be very dangerous for a tiny little bird like a hummingbird.
And I feel like there was something else you were going to say about hummingbirds.
They're the most remarkable bird, I think. They're leaving a feeder out for them does not stop them from migrating. They migrate individually. They're singular birds. They don't like each other at all. You see them chasing each other constantly. Mama's the one who takes care of everything. She finds the area. She sets the nest up. She takes care of the babies. So she teaches them where to find their food. But then after a week or so, she chases them off as well. So, but they're remarkable little birds. They fly nonstop across the Gulf of Mexico, and they're this tiny little bird. It's like 500 miles, and they have to do it nonstop. So they actually, from what I've read, they can actually fall asleep and continue to stay on the same path they were on when they were awake.
That's crazy. It's funny. That was one of the things that I noticed this year. I'm like, well, I guess they seem too small to migrate effectively. But I mean, you're right. They're amazing to watch, and it's amazing that the trips that they make.
I know that it is. They come from South America sometimes, but I always tell people you can put your feeders out like the beginning of April and take them back in about Halloween time, because even though it's past the time that they're here, a lot of the ones that are migrating from farther north, they will fly low looking for feeders. And sometimes you actually get to see other hummingbirds. And a few of them will stake around because, once again, I think the weather's getting easier. But a lot of the times it's because they're either older and they won't make the trip, or they're too young to make the trip by themselves.
Excellent. And any other quick tips before we get ready to close it out for the day?
I wish I could think of some, but no, I think we're good.
All right. Well, before I close, I do want to, thank you so much for sharing your story, but what would you have asked you? What do you wish someone had told you before you started My Backyard?
I don't know. I walked into this store blind. I really did. I really didn't know what I was up against, and it's a lot of work. There's no doubt in my mind there's days that it's very exhausting, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I enjoy my people that come in there, my customers. I tell you, when COVID came, my customers rallied for me. They bought seed from me without coming into the store. I love this community, and I love the people in it. They've kept me going. I'm glad that happened, because I got to know so many more people that way. But as far as knowing something, I didn't know what I didn't know. So yeah. I just went into it and figured I was gonna make it, and I didn't have a problem. And here it is, 7 years later, I'm still doing it. So I think that's I'm saying something.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
See, I told you it would be a great conversation. They seem to be the only kind we have around here. If you have any suggestions for the show, again, reach out to me at bytonyrusso@gmail.com. That is bytonyrusso@gmail.com. The Pines Cast is an Ocean Pines Association production. It was written and edited by me, Tony Russo, executive producer Linda Martin. Please subscribe wherever you're listening now, and enjoy the rest of your summer. We'll catch you next time on the Pines Cast.